Extreme discipline doesn't just change you, it makes you unrecognizable. That's the goal. Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's greatest samurai philosopher, achieved it, forging himself into a legend through a system so potent it's still studied centuries later. His Book of Five Rings distills this system into 5 elemental principles, each a stepping stone from soft to savage, from distracted to disciplined beyond belief. By the end of this journey, you'll know exactly how to wield these principles to transform yourself. We begin with the Earth Ring, the foundation that forces you to confront how far you truly have to go. The Earth Ring is about brutal self-assessment, a mirror held up to your soul. Most people think they're busy. They're not. They're lost in distraction, mistaking motion for progress. Musashi wrote, "The warrior is the twofold way of pen and sword," meaning a true warrior trains mind and body with equal rigor. But before you can train, you must see where you stand. No illusions, no excuses. After his legendary duel with Sasaki Kojiro in 1612 on Ganryu Island, a clash where one false step meant death, Musashi didn't bask in victory. He vanished into a cave for 2 years, not to celebrate, but to dissect his near failure. This wasn't just solitude, it was a samurai's ritual of introspection, rooted in Japan's cultural reverence for Hanzei relentless self-reflection to uncover flaws. Musashi pored over every moment of that duel, analyzing why his blade nearly faltered, why his footwork wasn't perfect. The winner didn't rest, he studied his weaknesses. That's Earth Ring thinking, know yourself down to the bone. Picture someone today who believes they're productive. Let's call him Gohan. He wakes up groggy, grabs his phone, checks emails in bed. Starting the day strong, he tells himself. He gets to work late, opens 15 browser tabs, flits between tasks like a moth. Lunch stretches into a 90-minute YouTube spiral. Afternoon brings more tab switching, more phone checking. By 7, he's home, exhausted from being busy. Sound familiar? Gohan decided to track every minute of his day for a week, a modern echo of Musashi's cave-bound scrutiny. The results were a gut punch. 6 hours daily on his phone, 2 hours of actual focused work, 8 hours of busyness that produced nothing. This is the Earth Ring's first lesson. Know the smallest details and the biggest picture. Musashi meant every second of your day and the overarching truth of your life. Most people know neither. Tracking reveals a brutal reality. You're not busy, you're weak. You don't have a time problem, you have a focus problem. You don't need more hours, you need to master the ones you have. Gohan's numbers hit like a blade. He wasn't a productivity machine battling time, he was a distraction addict, lying to himself. His packed schedule was empty motion, his exhausting days self-inflicted wounds. Studies, like those from the University of California in 2023, confirm most people manage only 2 to 3 hours of genuine productivity daily. The rest is fake work, busy work, avoidance masquerading as effort. Motivation fails here because you can't inspire your way out of delusion. Earth Ring honesty demands you track everything, see the ugly truth, and accept you've been lying to yourself. In his Dokudo, Musashi wrote, "Accept everything just the way it is, not the way you wish it was. Reality doesn't care about your excuses, and neither did he." When Gohan saw his numbers, 6 hours wasted, 2 hours productive, he couldn't unsee them. They burned into his mind, a wound that refused to close. But knowing you're weak is only the beginning. What happens when you try to change? When you dare to build discipline, reality pushes back. That's where the water ring takes over, teaching you how to move when the world resists. Gohan, shaken by his Earth Ring revelation, tried a complete overhaul. He set his alarm for 4 a.m., planned a 2-hour workout, 8 hours of deep work, cold showers, meditation, and 2 hours of reading each night. Day 1, he collapsed by 6 a.m., quitting everything by noon. This is where the water ring saves you, Musashi wrote. Water adopts the shape of its receptacle. Most misread this as a call to be flexible. Wrong. It means stop fighting reality with fantasy plans. In his early career, Musashi fought 20 duels, never using the same weapon twice: sword, spear, wooden stick, bare hands. Why? He learned rigid plans shatter against reality's chaos. Each duel taught him to adapt, to flow like water around obstacles. In feudal Japan, this adaptability was survival. Samurai who clung to one style died. Gohan's mistake was universal. See your weakness, craft a perfect schedule, execute with military precision, then crash when life intervenes. Here's what Gohan learned instead. He didn't wake at 4 a.m. He woke 30 minutes earlier than usual. Instead of 2-hour workouts, he did 10 push-ups. Instead of 8 hours of deep work, he focused for 25 minutes, then took a break. Pathetic? That's what he thought until week 2, when he tallied 70 push-ups and 175 minutes of focused work without failing once. This is the water ring in action. Flow around obstacles, don't smash into them. Can't do 100 push-ups? Do 10. Can't read a chapter? Read a page. Can't meditate for 20 minutes? Do 2. Musashi began with wooden swords, practicing basic cuts for years before his first real duel. His genius was strategic. In strategy, make the enemy think you are far away when you are near. Applied to discipline, make the task think it's defeating you while you're winning. Your brain expects you to quit the gym after 10 minutes? Go for 11. Expect to abandon a book on page 1? Read to page 2. Each small win rewires your identity, crafting someone who doesn't quit. By week 4, Gohan was waking at 5 a.m., naturally, working out for 45 minutes, achieving 4 hours of deep work, not by force, but by flow. The water ring's persistence, small, consistent pressure beats dramatic attempts every time. Japan's cultural emphasis on kaizen, incremental improvement, echoes this. Small steps compound into transformation. But progress brings a new enemy, one that emerges when you start to win, threatening to unravel everything you've built. But here's where it gets dark. Once you start seeing progress, once you build momentum, a new enemy appears, one that's destroyed more warriors than any external opponent. The fire ring reveals what happens when you finally start winning. Week 4, Gohan's making progress, waking at 5 a.m., working out daily. Then he sees someone bench pressing twice his weight, someone younger closing million-dollar deals, someone running marathons while he's proud of his 45-minute workouts. The anger surges. I'm pathetic. Look how far behind I am. What's the point? He skips the next workout, then the next. The spiral begins. This is where the fire ring changes everything. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi writes about fire and its nature, how it spreads, consumes, and transforms. Most people let anger consume them. Warriors use it to forge themselves stronger. Musashi learned this young. His father died when he was 7, leaving him orphaned and furious. Instead of succumbing to victimhood, he channeled that rage into a grueling routine. 14 hours of training daily, not despite the anger, but because of it. Every swing of his wooden sword was fueled by fury, aimed not at the world, but at his own limitations. This echoes ancient teachings beyond Japan. In Stoicism, Epictetus taught that emotions like anger aren't to be suppressed but directed. Control what you can, like your response to setbacks, turning inner fire into disciplined action. Zen Buddhism parallels this with mindfulness. Observe the flame of rage without letting it burn you, instead using it to illuminate paths to mastery. In Dokudo, Musashi wrote, "Do not be jealous of others' good or evil, not because jealousy is morally wrong, but because it wastes precious fuel. Every moment spent angry at others' success is energy you could use to destroy your own mediocrity." The fire ring principle, anger at mediocrity is fuel, not failure. In our social media-saturated world, this enemy thrives. Endless scrolls of curated highlights, perfect bodies, lavish lifestyles, overnight successes, stoke envy that paralyzes. Studies from platforms like Instagram reveal how comparison triggers dopamine crashes, leading to demotivation. Gohan felt this digital barrage, but his shift happened in one raw moment. Staring in the mirror, disgusted at his progress, he almost whispered, "I'm pathetic." Then he caught himself. "I refuse to stay pathetic. Same emotion, different target. Everything changed. That voice telling you, you're not good enough? That's not your enemy. That's your drill sergeant. The problem isn't the voice, it's that you're attacking yourself instead of the problem." Here's what Gohan started doing every night. He wrote down what pissed him off about himself, specific things. Only did 30 push-ups, checked his phone during deep work, ate garbage for lunch. Then he converted each into the next day's mission. Anger about 30 push-ups, tomorrow's minimum is 35. Pissed about phone checking, tomorrow the phone stays in another room. Disgusted by lunch choices, tomorrow's meal is prepped tonight. Emotions aren't good or bad, they're energy. The question is where you aim them. Aim anger at yourself, and you self-destruct. Aim it at your weakness, and you evolve. Gohan discovered the daily ritual. Morning, acknowledge what you hate about your current state. Evening, convert that hatred into tomorrow's plan. Not positive affirmations, productive rage. Within 2 weeks, his progress doubled. Not because he found motivation, but because he stopped wasting anger on self-attack and started using it for self-improvement. The fury was always there, now it had a purpose. But anger alone creates another trap that felled many samurai. What happens when the rage actually works? When you start winning and progress makes you feel superior? That's when the wind ring sweeps in to keep you grounded. 3 months in, Gohan's a different person, waking at 4:30 a.m. without an alarm, knocking out 100 push-ups easily, logging 4 hours of deep work daily. Friends ask what happened to him. Family thinks he joined a cult. Then the whisper starts. You've made it. You're disciplined now. You can ease up. He stops tracking time, skips the evening planning. I don't need that anymore. I've got this. 1 missed workout becomes 3. 4-hour work sessions shrink to 2. Within 2 weeks, he's lost 50% of his gains. The wind ring exists for this moment. Musashi wrote in the Wind Book, I have written about other schools of strategy. People think he was showing off. No, he was explaining why he never stopped learning, even after 30 consecutive victories. What most don't know, at age 50, after defeating every major sword school in Japan, over 60 duels undefeated, a streak that shocked the feudal world, Musashi declared, I have not yet reached the way. Undefeated for decades, yet still a student. Why? To know your enemy, know his sword. The enemy isn't others. It's the version of you that thinks you've arrived. Musashi studied rival schools obsessively, not to steal techniques, but to stay humble. Each new style exposed gaps in his own, keeping him sharp while others grew soft. His undefeated record wasn't luck. It was this relentless curiosity, a surprise to contemporaries who expected arrogance from such dominance. Gohan learned this the hard way. The moment he stopped tracking was the moment he started falling, not because tracking has magic power, but because it keeps you honest. The second you think you don't need systems, you've already lost. Here's the contrast that stings. Musashi at 60 victories. I am a student. You at 60 days? I've got this. He stayed hungry after decades. You get comfortable after weeks. The wind ring reveals something deeper. Every level of discipline has its own challenges. Beginners is starting. Intermediates is consistency. Advanced is not believing you're advanced. Gohan implemented a new rule. Every month, study someone better. Find someone who makes your discipline look weak. Learn their methods. Feel inadequate again. Use that discomfort as a compass pointing toward growth. This is why Musashi chronicled other schools, not to mock them, but to remind himself he was one of many paths, to stay curious, to remain a student, to never let mastery morph into arrogance. In a world where social media amplifies overnight gurus, this humility is revolutionary, a hook that pulls you from complacency's grip. But knowing you must stay humble and actually staying humble while winning, that's different. Which brings us to the final ring, the one most people never reach, the one that explains why true masters seem so different from everyone else. The daily battle never ends. 6 months in, Gohan hits a wall, not physical, but existential. He realizes something that almost breaks him. This never gets easier, ever. He'll wake at 4 a.m. forever, track his time forever, fight his weakness forever. The thought makes him sick. When does it end? When do I get to just be disciplined? Never. That's what the Void Ring teaches. Musashi's Dokudo contains the answer. Accept everything just the way it is. Not accept defeat, but accept reality. And reality is that discipline is war, and war never ends. In the void is virtue and no evil. The void is the space where struggle becomes natural, where hard becomes normal, where discipline stops being something you do and becomes who you are. This echoes Eastern philosophies like Buddhism's embrace of impermanence, Mujo in Japanese thought, where nothing is static and life's flux demands constant vigilance, or Taoism's Wu Wei, effortless action, not through laziness but through alignment with the natural flow of existence. Musashi painted every day, not to become a painter but because warriors paint. He practiced calligraphy, not to become a writer but because warriors write. The activity wasn't the point. The practice was an eternal honing of self. What breaks most people is the illusion that discipline is a bridge to an easier life. Train hard now, coast later, build habits now, cruise on autopilot later. That's the lie that makes them quit when they discover the bridge has no end. Gohan's transformation happened in a moment of clarity. Exhausted, frustrated, ready to quit, he asked the wrong question one last time. When does it get easier? Then he heard the answer, it doesn't. You get stronger. The shift was profound. Stop asking when it gets easier. Start asking, what's today's battle? Because here's what the void reveals. You don't reach a point where discipline becomes easy. You become someone who does hard things automatically, not because they're easy, but because that's what you do. In Dokudo, Musashi's final precepts urge detachment from desires, a spiritual surrender that frees you for mastery. Gohan finally understood. The tracking, the workouts, the early mornings, they weren't steps to somewhere else. They were the destination, the eternal practice, the way of living that separates warriors from everyone else. The void isn't empty, it's full of acceptance. Accepting that you'll fight laziness tomorrow. Accepting that you'll track time forever. Accepting that the war against mediocrity never ends. But here's the paradox. When you accept the eternal struggle, it stops being a struggle. It becomes your nature, like breathing. You don't struggle to breathe, you just breathe. Discipline becomes the same. Strategies for self-mastery emerge here. Daily rituals become sacred, not burdensome. View setbacks as teachers, not failures. Cultivate mushin no mind, a state where action flows without overthinking, as Musashi did in his duels. This acceptance turns curiosity into a lifelong quest, surprise into growth, and hooks you into a path of endless evolution. Each ring builds on the last. Earth shows you where you are. Water gets you moving. Fire accelerates progress. Wind keeps you humble. Void makes it permanent. Gohan doesn't ask about endings anymore. He asks about beginnings. What battle starts today? What weakness gets attacked today? What growth happens today? Because in the void you realize something beautiful. The struggle isn't the price of discipline. The struggle is the discipline. The eternal war isn't what you endure to become disciplined. It's what makes you disciplined every day, forever. And that's exactly how it should be. The rings are waiting. The question is, are you? Thank you very much for your attention. Until the next video.